lived, the closer the clock ticked to 5 p.m. The hard part was not knowing what I'd have to face next. I figured Elric was the kind of man who saved the best for last, and I had no expectation of success. Just because I'd survived longer than the others didn't mean I was about to be employed. It only meant I'd outlived the other applicants going into the 7th and final interview. The odds were still against me, and I'd probably leave the building in a body bag or garbage pail, depending on what deadly creature Elric threw at me next. Still, I'd long ago made my peace with dying here, and I'd accepted that it was the price I'd have to pay for failure. So I sat alone again in the waiting area, in one of the only chairs that wasn't smeared with blood. The lobby was located in an 18-story office building devoted entirely to Signature Property Enterprise, Limited Liability Solutions Incorporated. SPLs Inc. You'd think that someone of Elric's stature would be a bit cleverer. Then again, flaunting their talents right under the noses of the unassuming, ignorant to our magical ways mortals, the unbound, as we usually refer to them, is a particular delight to most mystics. At least it is to all of the ones I've stolen from over the years. At some point, maybe the acronym was too on the nose, though, so the official logo had been reduced to simply SPL Inc. Either way, it was still one of the most exclusive mystic enterprises in the world. Once an employee joined the organization, they're almost always there for life. Literally. SPL has no pension plan or 401k. No, it only has the kind of retirement that comes from 6 feet under. Knowing that, however, did little to dissuade me from wanting to join its forces. And it had taken me nearly a decade for my application to be accepted and land an interview. The things I'd had to do to gain the skills to be able to even qualify as an applicant would make your hair curl. But desperation has a way of driving one to believe that every obstacle is merely an invitation for creativity. The more formidable the obstacle, the bigger the reward, and I'd obtained a substantial number of rewards in my fairly short time as a thief. Several pieces of that cash had already been turned over to Elric, the price of admission, so to speak. I suspected that a few more pieces would also have to be given up later, assuming I survived, of course. A door on my left opened, and Elric's secretary, Sequoia, a dark-skinned vision of beauty with almond-shaped eyes, high-arched brows, broad forehead, and a long mane of white, braided hair, beckoned me forward with a simple crook of her finger. I swallowed hard, braced myself, and rose as smoothly as my cracked ribs and swollen knee would allow. Sequoia's lips parted seductively as I came close. With my one good eye, I held her gaze and refused to blink. The slight smirk on her face hinted at approval, and she waved me into a grandiose room with golden textiles, emerald accents, high ceilings, and the distinct aroma of power. "Sit," she ordered. I made no move to do so, and she dipped her chin demurely, that quirk to her lips lifting a bit. "Or stand. You won't have long to wait, but try not to bleed on the carpet, or anything else." With that, she closed the door, and I waited a beat or two before relaxing my posture and shuffling painfully over to a wing chair. But I didn't sit down just yet. Instead, I used the chair to steady myself while I appraised the room. The setting, honestly, was a bit unnerving. All of the other rooms I'd been let into had been bare. Even the floors had been stripped down to the concrete, probably to make cleanup a breeze. This particular suite, however, was carpeted with a luxurious weave, and the elegant furnishings were probably costlier than my entire net worth. Clearly, whatever the 7th round entailed wasn't going to be messy. Neat meant quick. Quick took power, and that's what made me nervous. I strongly suspected that this was Elric's office, so my final interview would be with him, a thought that both terrified